Today we're going to be repairing a Moto Edge model XT2305 with a display issue. The previous repair person explained that they had attempted to replace the screen, but it didn't resolve the issue. So let's take off the back, open this phone, and see if we can figure out what's going on. Let's remove all of the screws. Carefully remove the charging coil. By inserting a cable, we can hear and feel the feedback of the phone turning on. This means the phone at least is working, but as you can see, we have no image. And given that the previous repair tech tried a new display, the solution is most likely going to be a motherboard repair. Unfortunately, because how new this device is, we don't have schematics, so it's going to be a little tricky to diagnose and fix this one. Carefully remove the cameras. Since I don't have a new display on hand, one of the quick and easy ways to identify which one of these many flex cables is the display flex. We can identify by plugging in a charger, and there's really two here that it could potentially be because of their size. So we're gonna test for voltage with the multimeter. If we lift back these two flex cables that it could possibly be, we're going to see if we can test a voltage. The ends of the connectors are positive and negative, so by simply probing at them, we'll be able to see whether or not power is being supplied to them. And as you can see on this left one, nothing. Let's go over to this right one, and you can see that we receive 5 volts, which indicates that this is the charging flex. If we unplug the cable and test again, we should see that there is no current passing through this cable. And as you can see, it's 0 amps. And as you can see, it's 0 volts. Let's remove the motherboard. And a side note, another way to identify the flex cable is to go on to mobilecentrics.com and look up the page where it shows the display, and that should help you identify which one is the flex cable. Typically, the display power chip is located behind the side of the display connector, right in this area. This is because the circuit structure requires a higher voltage. For this reason, we're going to be testing around this area. First, we need to remove this little heat sink without destroying it too much. Using a heat gun at 430 degrees Celsius, let's remove the metal cover for the motherboard. Carefully working our way around so that we don't damage the top layer of the motherboard. With enough patience, we'll be able to get this off without overheating the board. The display power chip is located on the back side of the display connector. Right here's the connector, so we look behind it, and right down here is the circuit. Here's a close-up of the components. We've got these coils, these large inductors. And you can see these diodes and coils that we can help identify the component. Using a multimeter, we're going to test with and see if there's any abnormalities, and we find that everything tests normal, which means that it's most likely this little chip, the 3837 display chip. Let's attempt to replace this power chip. Let's put some flux down, and with some fine tip tweezers, we're going to use some hot air at 380 degrees Celsius to remove it. This is a delicate procedure because of its proximity to the surrounding components. But with enough patience, we'll be able to lift the chip off. And while it's still warm, let's apply a little bit more flux. Take our soldering iron at 350 Celsius and carefully try to suck up as much of the solder onto the soldering iron as we can. Then we can come in with some wick, and with 300 degrees airflow we'll be able to carefully wick up as much of the solder as we can off of those pads without bumping the surrounding components. Let's clean up the burnt flux with some isopropyl alcohol and some cotton. Now we can add some new fresh flux. Now we can get a new chip. Line it up, making sure that we have the dot in the correct orientation. Now using 380 degrees Celsius with a moderate airflow, we'll be able to install it, seeing it kind of snap down into place. We'll let it cool down, and then we can move on to installing it for testing. We'll connect all of the connectors and power on the device. Now you can see that we have got the display working again, and this repair is almost complete. We still need to put back the shield and reassemble it, but as you can see, we were able to fix this without schematics, using logic and experience, knowing where to look.